Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Attorney Core for plaintiff and Attorney Schaefer for defendant.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, Judge.
I guess I'll ask you, Ms. Greenlee-Flor, you're the plaintiff in this matter. You're ready to proceed at this time?
We are, yes, and I can give the court a brief update with what's going on procedurally.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer, are you ready to proceed?
We're ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Greenlee-Flor, what did you have before we commence?
So as my trial brief indicated, we did complete mediation per the court order to do so. We did complete the property mediation. That is one of my exhibits. I believe property issues have been settled at this point. So the only issue we're dealing with today is parenting time, custody, and child support.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, is that accurate?
I think it's accurate that the property issues have been settled through mediation. There is a mediation agreement that has been signed by the parties. I think what is left is what indicated by opposing counsel, plus the issue of spousal support.
Okay, Ms. Greenlee-Flor, do you wish to make an opening statement or proceed to proofs?
I wish to make a brief opening statement, Your Honor.
Okay, go ahead.
Your Honor, as indicated in my trial brief, Mr. Lampkin was defaulted all the way back in May of 2023. He's making an argument today, firstly, for spousal support. I believe that's precluded. The default was never set aside at this point. And as this court will see, based on the evidence we're going to propose today, there is no reason to award spousal support to father from mother. In fact, there's a good reason to order spousal support from father to mother if this court were inclined to do so. But I think it's important to first of all note that there is still a default against Mr. Lampkin. Today, we're going to be dealing with 3 minor children. The parties were separated November 18th, 2022. The case was filed in January 2023, so almost a year ago as of this month. Again, Mr. Lampkin was defaulted in May of 2023, and the motion for entry of a default judgment was heard on August 7th of 2023, where this court declined to set aside the default, but also declined to enter our proposed judgment of divorce. That judgment of divorce did propose parenting time pursuant to the status quo. Since the party separation, father has been basically non-existent in the minor children's lives. As pointed out in my brief, that father has had a total of 11 overnights with his son Robbie, 4 overnights with Sadie, and 0 overnights with Delaney since November of 2022. He's continued to prioritize himself instead of time with his minor children, and we believe that reflects in what's been going on with these parents and their minor children. Today, we are asking that mother be awarded sole legal and sole physical custody of the minor children. As this court is also aware, there's also a PPO that was issued from father against father to mother based on his behavior. Father has drinking issues. He's been intimidating to mother. He's been rude to mother. He's been completely inappropriate with mother. So legal custody is not a possibility at this point. It's our understanding also that at the last PPO hearing, our family wizard was ordered to be used for communication between these parties. There's no order that says that yet. It's my understanding that Mr. Schaefer was to prepare that order. However, it's not been issued yet, but that can also be issued through this case. So that would be the only way that these parties should be communicating at this point. And again, only about the minor children. But again, joint legal custody is not appropriate at this time. Father's parenting time should be, as the parties can agree, it might make sense to order father to attend counseling with their minor children, and with the intention of trying to do some sort of reconciliation. But at this point in time, ordered parenting time for father is not appropriate. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Schaefer, any opening statement or wish to reserve or waive your opening statement?
I'll give an opening statement, Your Honor.
Okay.
Your Honor, we have a divorce matter here involving the children and spousal support and support in parenting time. This is a marriage in 2004, so it's a little short of 20 years. And these 3 minor children are teenagers, and we have gone through the mediation as indicated by stipulation, and there's been an agreement, and the division of property has taken place. There's a couple hiccups in that regard, one of which is that the marital home on Orchard Drive was awarded to the plaintiff mother, with a 6-month time period for her to get the financing out of the name of the defendant so that he can have credit to repurchase a proper home. My client is currently renting an apartment at this point in time. The proofs are going to show, Your Honor, that the established custodial environment is with both of the parents. These two parents have raised these three children all of their lives. They have done that jointly. The proofs are going to show that in 2021, the plaintiff mother was involved in an affair that led to the breakdown in the marriage. There was separation in 22. There was an effort to reconcile in 22, and then another separation in November 22 because of this affair of the plaintiff mother. So the cause of the breakdown is on the plaintiff in this particular matter, should be taken into consideration both on the best interest factors and the factors for spousal support. The proofs are going to show that during the marriage, marital funds were expended for the plaintiff mother to improve her ability to gain income. She has obtained a master's throughout the marriage. As a result of it, our position is that she currently has a position with Carnegie where she makes $84,000 a year. My client has a high school degree. He is a private construction company. He makes between $20,000 and $30,000 a year. The proofs are going to show that joint returns for 21 and 22, the last ones that are in existence, are accurate representation of his income at this point in time and reflects that. And the proofs will show that his income for 23 are going to be similar to that of 22. Those returns obviously have not been completed yet, but turned over to the accountant for that determination. The proofs are going to show that my client has supported both emotionally and financially these children throughout the separation period. He has a good relationship with the children at this point in time. He's dealing with teenage kids, some of whom have more activities and desires to be where they are than others, but that is the lay of the land. But he does have contact with them, if not daily, weekly, and participates in their lives, their extracurricular activities. He provides them with monies. He pays for educational trips for them. The proofs are going to show that the kids are good students, and they have been. And that's a kudo and a blessing that both these parents have, is that their kids do well in school. My client has contact with the kids, as I indicated, on a weekly basis and participates in their lives. We are asking that there be joint legal and physical custody for the kids with both the parents, because that's the established custodial environment that has taken place over the last, the full lives of all of these kids. Should be based on the incomes, support should be based on the incomes of both of the parents, $4,000 for the mother, and between $20,000 and $30,000 for the father in this particular matter. We are asking that the parenting be a flexible parenting time based on the activities of the kids to augment and complement their schedules. They have active schedules. All three of the kids indicates are in sports, so they have that plus their academics. Show that my client believes, based on the input back to him from the kids, that the plaintiff mother has not encouraged this relationship during the separation time with the kids, and has tried to poison the kids against the father. Proofs are also going to indicate that her affair that began back in 21 continues to this day, and this person is still part of her life, and she's amalgamated that into the children's lives also, which should be taken into consideration. Your Honor, the parents have communicating, that's going to be agreed. I think there probably needs to be some sort of co-parenting counseling that would benefit both of them to participate in for the benefit of the children. The long and the short of this, Your Honor, is that we've got a long marriage. We've got fault involved on the plaintiff wife. We've got disparity of incomes And we are going to be asking for spousal support for a short period of time to equalize the earning capacity and to get my client back on the road of trying to equalize the income of these parties. And that's the position of the defendant, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clore, Clore, you can call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. For my reference, does the court want me to share exhibits when I put them on the screen or just reference
Yes.
them?
Yeah, we'll have you share those.
Okay, very good. All right, I'd like to call Ms. Jessica Lampkin.
Greenlee Clore.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, can you please state your spouse's name?
Clyde Robert Lampkin II.
And he goes by Rob, is that correct?
Yes.
Did you separate on or about November 18th of 2022?
Yes.
What was the cause of your separation?
Several things. There's been a long history of alcohol and from Clyde. There's also been a lot of emotional abuse from him as well. It's just been a very difficult marriage with him, and so that ultimately led to the breakdown of the marriage. He also urged me to have relations with other men for 8 years, and I did not want to go along with that. And when I finally did, he was aware of the situation, and that we tried to work things out, and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And did he ever step outside of the marriage to your knowledge?
Yes, he has.
Okay, how many times?
I'm unaware of the times. There have just been a lot of situations with women that I've dealt with from the beginning of our relationship. I never really had a lot of evidence that I could show to the court today, but it's definitely something that's been an ongoing issue in our relationship with him.
And just to get it out of the way, at the initial separation, was was Rob with somebody else?
Yeah, actually, he told me that in September of 2022, his current girlfriend, who is 26 years old, was showing interest in him, and he had known her for 8 years previously, unbeknownst to me, that he had some sort of relationship with this woman. And the day that we separated on November 18th, he was actually with her. He admitted this. And then 1 week to the day of our separation, he bought an engagement ring from K Jewelers, and the actual purchase is shown in the exhibit the exhibit 2, excuse me.
Okay. All right. And so you said in November of 2022, he purchased an engagement ring for her?
Yes. And he admitted that to me over the telephone.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, is he still with her today?
Oh, he is.
Okay. And how old is Rob?
Oh, 44.
Okay. And his current girlfriend, to the best of your knowledge information, I believe she's 26.
She just turned 26 in September, yes.
Do you know if she's had any contact with your children?
Oh, yeah. She's been around. She has stayed the night with my children in the same household. She's around my children quite often whenever they do spend time with him.
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object unless there's a proper foundation for that. If she has personal knowledge, fine. But it sounds like it's not personal.
Okay.
I'll strike that, Your Honor. That's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Ms. Lampkin, can you please state your children's names and ages? So not dates of birth, just their age.
20 years old, is 16 years old, is 15, and is 13.
Okay. So the three that are still in the house are all teenagers. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
And what's happened with Rob's relationship with the kids since you separated?
He has had very little contact with them, especially in the beginning. I was always trying to urge them and him to have a good relationship with each other. On many occasions, I would text him and say, are you going to see the kids? You know, this is unfair to the kids that you're not spending time with them. And he told me that it was too difficult for him. And unfortunately, that's not fair to the children. It's the times that he did spend with them were very tumultuous. And at times in front of me, he has, he has talked down to the children. He has cussed at them and really interrogated them. And so it's been a very strenuous relationship. They don't feel comfortable.
Well, hang on, Jessica, we can't go into what they feel, okay? Because that's going to go into hearsay, okay? But yes. Let's break this down. So Going back to the amount of time that he spent with them, you initially began encouraging the parenting time with him, and his response to you was that it was too difficult to spend time with him. Is that right?
Yeah. No, and it was mostly because of his emotional state, apparently.
And how long did that go on?
Honestly, for I would say several months, he had very, very little contact with them. I feel like he would pick them up for school some mornings and help in that regard, but that was kind of the extent of the parenting time that he had with them. He started to make a little bit more of an effort, but it was kind of too late at that point. You know, they're I was gonna say their feelings, but I can't talk about that. So yeah, it was few and far between.
Okay. What kind of love, affection, or other emotional ties, in your opinion, exist between the children and dad at this point?
Honestly, I don't feel like there is a lot of strong emotional ties. I feel like at this point it's more they would like to see what they could get from their father because he is absent. So it's kind
Your
of
Honor, I guess I'm going to
of-
object as to what children are doing, or some foundation. It's either hearsay or speculation, or there's no foundation. He has
Okay.
personal knowledge of it.
Ms. Greenlee-Clark, court will sustain the objection unless you can make a foundation.
Okay. All right. Ms. Lamb, can you just can't speculate about what they want or those kinds of things, but in your opinion, the children have a low love, affection, or emotional ties with dad at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about their love, affection, and emotional ties with you. What's your relationship with them like?
We're obviously very close. We're together every single day. I am their sole protector. We have not been separated besides obviously for like a work trip or something like that. My children are with me all the time. We have a very good relationship. We communicate. We have a very loving and affectionate relationship. I am constantly telling them that I want them to have a good relationship with their father. We do communicate about everything, and it always turns positive because that's the way that I look at things. I don't think it's fair that they have been put in this situation. I don't think it's fair that their father hasn't given them the time that they deserve. And it's very hurtful to them. And so I've been a strong supporter of just helping them through this situation as much as possible. Delaney has been in counseling. The other two haven't expressed interest in that at this point. But and our oldest son also has been through counseling as well. A lot of things that they have been through their childhood regarding their father has really caused a lot of issues that they're trying to work through.
Your Honor, I guess, again, I'm going to object to the opinion of what the counseling is about. It's an opinion that is unsupported by foundation or fact.
Well, she can give her opinion, and you can address that on cross-examination.
Okay. Jessica, going to you talked about the children's history. What kind of things happened during the marriage or during the time you were together with Rob to the children? What kind of a parent was he?
Honestly, I feel like there were times where he would put in effort with them. But a lot of times he was really focused on himself. I kind of feel like I always had to be the one to tell him where we needed to be for the children, what we needed to do. And then when we separated, I wasn't that person to him anymore. So he just really put that aside and wasn't unable to be a part of their lives. He had a lot of drinking episodes that put the children in dangerous situations. He would drink and drive with them quite often. It was a constant problem that we had to deal with and something that I brought up to him over and over again, and he continued to do so. The children did not feel safe very often.
Your Honor, again, I'm going to object as to what the feeling of the...
Sustained.
Yeah, Jessica, please be careful about saying the feelings of your children. We need to focus on just your observations and your personal knowledge, okay?
Okay.
So I'm going to break this down a little bit more. So you indicated that there were times where you personally witnessed Rob driving drunk with the minor children. Is that correct?
Yes, he would come home with the children in the vehicle and obviously intoxicated.
Okay, and that was more than once, I'm assuming.
Oh, it was countless times. I can't even recall how many times. I will testify to one time during the separation. I had a work meeting and he came by the house to talk to me. And I told him that the kids had an appointment at the doctor's office for their yearly checkup and their sports physicals, and asked if he could help take them. He said he would, and that he would pick them up from school. I then got a phone call from the doctor's office, and they said, you need to.
Objection, Your Honor, here.
Jessica?
Objection.
Sustained.
Yeah, Jessica, remember, you can't say what people said, okay? So really watch that hearsay, okay? Or let me rephrase that question. Were you ever asked to pick up the minor children because Rob was intoxicated?
Yes, I was asked
Objection,
by the
leading
doctor's
question, Your Honor.
office.
Ms. Greenlee-Clark, what's your response?
I don't see how that's a leading question. I asked her a general open-ended question.
Well, the question was, did you get a request from somebody to pick them up because of a reason? That is a leading question.
Well, it definitely borders on that. If not, it does border on hearsay when saying if somebody contacted her for that purpose. So I'll sustain the objection unless you can lay a foundation.
Thank you. All right, as to your knowledge, Jessica, has Rob ever been had a DUI or any sort of legal action regarding his drinking?
He did when he was younger. I think he was about 21 when
Okay, not during your marriage.
No.
Did he ever participate in rehabilitation services or any sort of counseling during your marriage?
Yes, he did. During the time that we were trying to reconcile, he was in AA.
Okay, when was that?
I'm unsure the time exactly. It was during, so it was 2022.
Okay, sometime in 2022.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I want to go to the capacity and disposition of both of you to provide love, affection, and guidance, and continue the education and the raising of the children. So first of all, I want to talk about are you involved in church with the minor children?
We do go occasionally. We did have a home church. We haven't been on a normal basis, but we have been a few times this year. Well, technically 2022, we went several times.
Okay. What about Rob? Is he involved in any sort of religious services with the minor children?
No.
No. What about Rob's ability to help the kids with their homework? Did you ever observe him helping them do their schoolwork or their homework?
I mean, I'm sure there were times in the past that he may have. Definitely not something anytime recently.
What about his involvement in going to the kids' school conferences?
Again, he used to go with me. We would go together to conferences previously. He hasn't been to anything recently within the past year or two.
Okay, so within the past year or two, he hasn't gone to any school conferences?
Right.
What about going to any extracurricular activities with the minor children? Does he go to those and watch or participate?
He's actually missed out on a lot of those. He will show up here and there to some of the events, whereas I'm at every single event for the children. Obviously, if one's having a game at the same time as the other, I can't be at two places at once, but I definitely show up to as much as I possibly can, whereas he doesn't show up at all too many. This season,
I'm going to object, Your Honor. She's indicating she can't be at every one at the same time, so she has no personal knowledge if he showed up at ones that she didn't show up at.
Well, maybe she can testify as to the events that she's at, Ms. Greenlee-Clark.
Sure. Ms. Lampkin, based on the events that you're at, how often would you say Mr. Lampkin shows up?
It's very few. Robbie just finished his basketball season. He had 12 games. Rob showed up to 2 at the very end. He has been to Sadie's games recently. He did miss some of her games last year, but Delaney's games, he came last night, but he has actually been at the facility and then left for Delaney's games. And so he has not been to all of hers.
So when you say been at the facility and left, what does that mean?
So
Like you left early?
Sadie plays basketball before Delaney, excuse me. On some days he came to watch Sadie and then left for Delaney's game.
Okay. Have you ever asked him why?
No, we were not having contact at that time.
Okay. Since he has retained an attorney, has he been notably more present for games or activities?
I would say more recently, within the past month, he started showing up, but he wasn't before that.
Okay. What about his ability? Does he ever provide any clothing for the minor children?
Here and there, it's very small amounts.
Okay. What about medical appointments? Does he attend any other medical appointments?
Besides that one that I've asked his help on, no.
Okay. So when you say no, is in the last year he hasn't attended any medical appointments, is that correct?
Correct.
What about before that? Was he involved in going to their medical appointments?
He would help, yes.
Okay. With all of them, with half of them?
It's really hard to say. He would take the kids if I had work meetings or something like that. He would definitely step up and take them when I couldn't.
Would you say that you were the primary parent that took the children to medical appointments?
No, there was a time that I felt like because of his job and his flexibility, he was able to help with that more than I was because I had a structured, work routine.
Okay. And what about scheduling the appointments? Was he ever involved in scheduling appointments?
No.
So he was taking them to appointments at one point, but you were doing the scheduling.
Yeah, I would say here and there, he might have scheduled some once in a while, but the majority of the scheduling, the organization for the children, it's always been on me.
Okay. And you're still in the marital home, correct?
Correct.
And you intend to remain in that home, providing a stable environment for the minor children.
Yes.
And in fact, that's what our mediation agreement indicates, correct?
Correct.
Do you know or have any personal knowledge about where Rob is living?
Yes, he's in, I guess it would be called like a duplex or triplex.
Okay. And that's something he's renting?
Yes, he's renting it from a friend.
Have you been there?
I have not been inside, no, but I've been to the place
Okay.
outside.
Do you have any knowledge about how many bedrooms there are?
I believe there is
Your
one.
Honor, she hasn't been inside, so unless it's from the defendant, it's going to be hearsay.
Okay, Ms. Greenlee-Thor,
Yeah, I'll just rephrase that. Do you have
Okay.
personal knowledge or has Rob told you how many bedrooms there are?
Yes, he's told me there's one.
Okay, so he's told you that there's one bedroom in this duplex or triplex where he's living.
Yes.
Has he told you whether he has any beds or sleeping arrangements for the minor children?
He does not. He has told me he does not.
Okay. Has he ever asked you to have overnights with the minor children?
Yes.
And how many times has he asked you to have overnights?
I'm not sure exactly how many times he's asked, but every time he's asked, I've allowed that to happen. I've never kept the kids from him.
Okay, so if we look at the number of overnights that he's had in the last year since your separation of November of 2022, are those the times that he's asked to have overnights?
Yep.
So in the last year, since November of 2022, how many overnights has he had with Robbie, your son?
He's actually had 12. He just stayed the night on Tuesday night.
Okay, so one more than since we submitted our trial brief.
Exactly.
Okay, and has Rob ever told you where Robbie sleeps during that time?
No.
Okay, what about Sadie? How many overnights has he had with Sadie?
4, and I was actually on a work trip during that time.
Okay, and what about Delaney?
0.
Has he asked to have any overnights at all with your daughters?
I'm sure he has. I don't know 100%. He hasn't said it to me directly.
Okay, so he hasn't asked you for any overnights with your daughters.
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, he might have said, I want to spend time with the kids or have the kids. I'm assuming that might mean staying the night, but he never directly came out and said, I want Delaney to stay the night with me. Or stay.
Okay. Let's talk about, excuse me, Mr. Lampkin's travels. Has he indicated to you that he's taken any vacations in the last year?
Oh, definitely.
Relevant, Your Honor?
This has to do directly with his ability to exercise parenting time and his involvement with the minor children.
well, I'll allow it. Go ahead.
Ms. Lampkin, and I want to focus just on what Mr. Lampkin has told you, okay? What has he told you he's done in the last year?
He has actually went to 6 different countries since January of 2023.
Your Honor, I guess the question was what was told to him, so I want to make sure the foundation is what was told to her.
Yes, he has told me directly.
Okay. Jessica, you have to wait until the judge makes a ruling, okay?
Sorry.
Okay, as long as he's told her, then the court will accept that.
Okay, Jessica, if you can indicate, I want to go trip by trip. What did he tell you first?
We had a trip planned to Grenada that I booked. He removed my name from that vacation and put his girlfriend's name on that vacation in January 2023 and took her to Grenada. They spent time in Florida as well as the Bahamas, and it was a 3+ week trip. That was the first vacation that he told me about. He also went to Nicaragua and Costa Rica on a 2+ week trip, April 25th through May 9th. And those are, I don't have the exact dates, so it's around those dates, but he did tell me he was there. He also went to Florida several times, July, the beginning of July, the end of July. And then he went to Curacao in September with his girlfriend. And he also went to Niagara Falls in October with his girlfriend.
Okay. And how long were those last few trips, if you know?
Extended weekends.
Okay. And if you know, did Rob tell you how he was paying for these trips?
No.
Okay. What about your travel? Have you traveled in the last year outside of work trips?
We also had another trip planned for February. It's an extended weekend in Long Beach, California. I went to that trip, and then I took my daughter to a trip to Boston for Future Medical Leaders of America Congress, and that was an extended weekend as well. And that's it.
Okay.
I'm able to I can't afford any more vacations.
Okay. And have you been the one providing all of their food and clothing?
Yes, he does provide monies to them here and there for food and clothing when they ask.
Okay. But he was initially providing some cash to you. Is that correct?
Yes, he was giving me $1,000 a month up until September was the last, and it was $1,000 a month.
Okay. And since that time, he hasn't offered you any sort of support for the kids?
I received zero monies from him since September.
Okay. So you've paid for all the children's extracurricular activity expenses and fees and everything, and he hasn't assisted with any of that?
No, he has not.
Okay. Based on your knowledge, does Rob have any sort of physical limitations that would limit his ability to parent?
No.
What about you? Do you have any physical limitations that would limit your ability to parent?
I do not.
Okay. How are your kids doing in school?
They're doing great. I'm very proud of my kids. They've been very strong through this whole situation, and they have persisted and done a really good job maintaining their school grades and their extracurricular activities, and I'm really proud of them.
Okay. What about your willingness to support and facilitate the minor children's relationship with dad? Or how have you done that in the last year?
It all starts with communication with my kids. I'm constantly talking to them about reaching out to their father, to have a good relationship with their father. When he does reach out, if they don't want to go, I tell them they should definitely go and spend time with him. I have never kept them from him. I have not poisoned them, as has been brought up. I do nothing but encourage their relationship with him.
Do you have any personal knowledge, and it's okay if you don't, but do you have any personal knowledge about Rob's ability or willingness to facilitate and promote a relationship with you and the minor children?
What he has said in front of me to the children about having, a positive relationship with me has been a very negative conversation. It's a lot of the reason why we're in the situation we are is it's my fault, and the children, if they have any type of any negative situations based off of that, it's all my fault. So, I'm the reason why they're going through the difficulties in life and why they can't do the things that they used to do. He has told me that he didn't want to pay for their cell phone bills, and he has not helped pay for any of the education trips, and said he would not do so because those were privileges. And he wanted to take away the privileges of the children because at the end of the day, he wanted to show that it was because of me that they were not allowed to have and do those things. However, I continue to push through and make sure those things happen for my children.
Okay, so you talked about privileges that you continue paying for. Let's go to these education trips. These educational trips, were those planned on and signed up for while you and Mr. Lampkin were together?
Yes, they were.
And that was something that you both agreed that the kids would be attending?
Yes.
When were those trips supposed to happen?
Delaney has already been on one, and that took place last spring break of 2022. Sadie and Delaney both were supposed to go to spring break of 2023. She went. And then 2024, there were two upcoming trips. Sadie does not want to go, so I canceled that trip and lost. I ended up having to pay a $600 cancellation fee for her canceled trip. I paid for the majority of both of Delaney's trips. Her trip is paid off for spring break of 2024. He did not help me from November 2022 on. I've been paying for it myself.
Okay, so even though this was something that you guys mutually agreed to, he kind of left you in the lurch there to pay for that and to carry out that promise to your kids.
Exactly.
Okay. What about other expenses? Have you paid for extracurricular activities, and how much were those?
Yeah, I've paid for countless extracurricular activities. He was helping me a bit with half of the sports fees up until September. As of September, I have paid for everything thus far, as far as travel, basketball for all three kids. He has not helped, and uniforms, things of that nature, I've paid for all by myself.
And just a rough estimate, how much does that typically add up to, or how much would you say that adds up to?
That piece in particular, since September, I've paid $621.96 just
Your
for.
Honor, she apparently is reading from something. I'm going to object unless she has knowledge of it, because especially on Zoom, we have no way of determining what she's referring to.
Ms. Greenlee-Thor, what's your response?
Thank you. If I could ask some questions of Ms. Lampkin to clarify.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Lampkin, are you referring to a bank statement or a check statement or something in front of you to refresh your memory?
Yes, there are receipts that I have for how much I've paid for their sports since September.
And you're just refreshing your memory by looking at those?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Your Honor, if the refreshment provision of the rule is being determined, I need to see what she's refreshing from.
Is that an exhibit, Ms. Greenlee-Thor, or not?
It's not, but I did ask her for an estimate of how much she was paying, so I mean, she's just providing an estimate of how much she paid. We're not trying to give an exact amount for this court.
Okay, well, $621.96 seems to be pretty accurate.
Yeah, it is what it is, Your Honor.
Okay, well, maybe, Ms. Lampkin, if you could just give, when Ms. Greenlee-Thor asked for an estimate, if you could give us an estimate as opposed to referring to another document, that would be appropriate.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you asked Rob to contribute to any of these children's expenses?
Yes, I have.
And what has been his response to that?
Typically he ignores it. I've gotten $0, so.
Okay. And just, I'd like the court to make sure that the court takes judicial notice of the PPO case in this matter. I understand Judge Kirkham has also been in front of, also handled that case as well.
I'm not sure what you're taking judicial notice of or what the request is, Your Honor. There is a PPO case there, but as to the details, I'm not sure it's appropriate to take judicial notice of what, that there's an existence. I have no problem with that. It's what the request is.
Ms. Greenlee-Thor, what is the request?
That this court take judicial notice that there is a PPO in place against father against
Well,
mother.
the court can take notice of its own files, so.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, where do you work?
I work for Carnegie Higher Ed.
Okay. And what is your yearly salary?
84,000.
What hours do you work?
Typically 8:30 to 5:30.
And do you work from home, work in the office?
I work from home.
Okay. And you occasionally have to travel for work?
Yes, typically twice a year.
Okay. And how long are those trips?
4 days total.
Okay. During the week?
Sometimes they're like Wednesday through Saturday, things like that.
Okay. But that's only twice a year?
Yes,
Do you carry the health insurance for the minor children?
I do.
And do you know how much that is?
Yes, it's roughly $300 a month.
Okay, how much, do you know how much is taken out of your paycheck? Each pay period?
Um, I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head. I do have it written down, but
Okay, but it's approximately $300 per month.
yes, I think 292, something along those lines.
And do you also carry any vision or dental?
That's included.
That's included in there. And who does that policy cover?
Delaney, Sadie, and Robbie, and
Okay.
myself.
And does it cover you?
That's separate. That's just for them.
So that's their portion.
Yeah, that's their portion.
What is the total amount, if you know?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, but that is the amount that is just for the 3 kids.
If I can look, I have it written down. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head.
Okay, that's okay. Does that policy cover your oldest child?
No.
Okay. Does it cover your husband?
No.
Okay. And have you always been the one that's carried that insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go to Mr. Lampkin's job. What does he do for a living?
He's a general contractor.
Okay. And prior to the divorce, did you guys own any businesses?
Yeah, C-Squared Construction.
Okay. And does he have any employees, if you know?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how many employees he has?
It fluctuates. He's at times had, 2 to 15. It really fluctuates.
Okay. And while you were married, what was your lifestyle like?
Honestly, the past several years, we really haven't wanted for anything. The kids always got everything they wanted. We traveled. We had lavish dinners. Him and I had dance lessons. We, had a lot of things that we were able to do that I am now unable to do. But we had a very lavish lifestyle.
Okay. So would you say, in your opinion, that he was a successful contractor?
Oh, 100%.
Do you know how many jobs he typically took on?
I do not know.
Okay. Did you ever go to any of those jobs?
I've been to some, I've observed some firsthand, yes.
Okay. What kind of jobs does he do?
Typical general contracting, we're from the roof to framing to, pretty much everything outside of electrical and plumbing, typically.
Okay. How is he typically paid during your marriage?
Sometimes cash, sometimes checks. He was paid numerous different avenues.
So let's talk about the cash. How much cash did he typically have on hand during the marriage?
Oh, Rob always had cash on him. I would say it's hard to estimate, but definitely stacks of cash that he would keep on his person. And I was always concerned about that. He actually lost $3,300 one time just because he had a stack of cash and it fell out of the vehicle and someone took it. He usually had stacks of cash in his vehicle. He also hid it in our household. He would put it like in the freezer. That was a place that he liked to hide money at times. So he always had cash. It was something that I was concerned about and always wanted him to put that money into the bank, and he refused.
And did you ever talk about why he didn't want to put that money into the bank?
Honestly, not that I can recall. He just always liked having cash. That was his thing.
Do you know where that cash came from?
I would assume jobs, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. And you never asked him where the cash came from?
It would typically be when he got paid from jobs. But I wouldn't ask necessarily because I just assumed they were from jobs.
Okay. So I'm going to put up Exhibit 2 here on the screen. Let's see if I get the right one up here. Can you identify what this is, Jessica?
Yes, that is Clyde's business account through Huntington Bank.
Okay. And Exhibit 2, the dates of this, could you read those to the court?
January 2022, January 1st of 2022 to January 31st, 2022.
Okay. And I'm going to scroll to the last page of this document and the last statement of this document. So this goes from January 2022 to when?
December 1st, 22 to December 31st, 22.
Okay, and you recognize these statements as Mr. Lampkin's business bank account, is that right?
Correct.
I'd like to move for admission.
Your Honor, again, it's a leading question and it's not into evidence yet. I'm not sure of the blade, so I object to the leading questions.
Okay, well,
Your Honor, I
Supreme
could
Court,
have,
maybe you could ask her a direct question she could identify.
sure, Ms. Lampkin, can you read the title of this account?
Yes, it says Huntington Business Analyze Checking.
Thank you. I'd like to move for admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 2.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer?
If I can have one moment so I can find the exhibits, just a second.
Okay.
This is the account ending in 7489.
Okay. This does not have any indication of a business account, does it?
It says Huntington Business Analyze Checking.
I'm asking the witness.
Yes,
I'm
it is.
board here. You had said it was a business account. Is it anything on there that so indicates?
Yes, sir. It says Business Analyze Checking.
How many pages is your exhibit, please?
This is just for 2022. This exhibit's 23 pages. So this is the statements for 2022.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, court will admit plaintiff's exhibit 2, there be no objection.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, you were aware of this account during the marriage, correct?
Correct.
And if you know, does Mr. Lampkin have like an LLC or a corporation or anything like that?
LLC.
Okay, so it was your understanding that this was the LLC account.
Objection,
Exactly.
leading question, Your Honor.
Screenly, Clara, if you could clarify.
What kind of account was what was your understanding that this account was for, Jessica?
This business checking account was for C Squared Construction.
Okay, and you said C Squared Construction?
Yes, LLC.
And that was his business?
Correct.
Okay, to see if you know, were there any partners or other owners, co-owners of that business?
They are not.
Okay, and this was part of a set of bank statements that we subpoenaed from Mr. Lampkin, correct?
Correct. Oh, no, these are the ones that I supplied because I was also a user on the account at the time.
Okay, so you were a user on this 7489 account.
Correct.
Okay, and you took the time to go through this year, the 2022 statements for this account, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall roughly how much in deposits you calculated for 2022 from these statements?
Over 200,000.
Okay, and that's just for this account, correct?
Correct.
Now, how did you calculate those deposits?
I went through, as you can see, it says deposits. In this case, it says on January 6th, there was $2,450 deposited.
Okay, and so you just went through and counted the amount of the deposits that were deposited into this account?
Exactly. And then in this case, there was a swear payment, and he did use swear payments sometimes for the business. So there are a few of those. I think there are only 2 possibly for 2022.
Okay, so we're looking at January 12th. This is what you're referring to down here?
Correct.
Okay, and what is swear, if you know?
It's a way to accept credit card payments.
Okay, so he made deposits, and if you know, were these cash?
Again, I'm going to object to the leading question. There's no testimony as to who made the deposit. She's the user on the account.
I'll withdraw that question, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Lampkin, do you know if there were any other authorized users on this account?
There were not.
And how do you know that?
It was just him and I on there.
Could you see that when you logged into the account?
No, I just was an authorized user through the bank.
Okay, but to the best of your knowledge, information, belief, there were no other authorized users on this account?
Correct. And I never made a single deposit here.
Okay, so to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, this account was solely used to deposit money from his business?
Correct.
Again, objection, Your Honor. If that no foundation laid that she would know whether or not it came from some other source.
Well, I think she can testify as to best of her knowledge, and she stated they were the only one authorized on the account, so we can, I guess, assume that, but I don't think that's a big point. You can address that on cross-examination.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Lampkin, after going through the 2022 year of these statements for the account ending in 7489, you came up with a total of over $200,000 in deposits, correct?
Correct.
Do you know if Mr. Lampkin, what he spent this money on?
I do not.
Okay. I'd like to bring up Exhibit 1. Mr. Schaefer. This will be the Huntington bank statements ending in 4077.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Jessica, can you identify what this is?
Yes, this is our joint Huntington checking account.
Okay. And was this used, what was this account used for?
This was one of our primary bank accounts that we use collectively.
And is this the account that your pay went into?
For a time, yes.
Okay. When you say for a time, what does that mean?
We eventually switched over my paycheck to go into the other joint account with MCCU.
Okay. And did Mr. Lampkin ever make any deposits in this account?
Yes,
To the best of your knowledge, information, belief, were only you and Clyde on this account?
correct.
Did anyone else have access to this account or ever make any deposits to your knowledge, information, belief?
No,
So if there are deposits in this account, they would have come from you or Mr. Lampkin.
correct.
And what kind of deposits did Mr. Lampkin make into this account?
Again, I would ask Foundation before she answers that. Your Honor.
Your Honor,
I think she can ask. I don't know what the objection is, Mr. Schaefer.
Objection, no foundation has been made that she knows what kind of deposits that the husband made to the account.
Well, she wasn't asking what kind. She said what deposits. I think she can testify what the deposits were. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead.
There were $220,000 worth of deposits that Clyde made alone. I did not make any of those deposits.
so that's the rough amount of deposits that Clyde made in 2022 to your joint checking account. Is that correct?
Correct.
And how did you calculate those deposits?
I went through each of the deposits on the statements and deducted the ones from, as you can see, Bluefish Consulting was one of mine. The other one is Insperity. Those are the only two that I ever had deposited into the account.
So let's look at this first statement from January of 2022. I'm sorry, I don't think I moved for admission of Plaintiff's Exhibit 1.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, any response?
No objection, Your Honor.
I didn't hear you. You say you have no objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. Court will admit Plaintiff's Exhibit 1, there being no objection.
Okay. Jessica, I want to go down to the deposits here. So you just referenced here that, well, let me go back a little bit. So this is a statement from which date to which date?
January 15th, 2022 to February 14th of 2022.
Okay. And if we look at the deposits down here on the first page of this exhibit, you said the Bluefish Consulting QuickBooks, this was your job?
Yes, at the time. Mhm.
Okay. And you no longer have that job?
I do not.
And again, this was from January 2022. So this was 2 years ago at this point.
Correct.
Okay. I'm looking here at two deposits on January 24th, one for 22,000, one for 14,548.89. Do you know what those deposits are from?
Those deposits were made by Clyde. I do not, I'm assuming they were,
Objection to the assumptions, Your Honor.
Okay.
I
Sustained.
don't know. I don't
Okay.
know what they were from.
You don't know what they were from. Okay. All right. And then we have some transfer from savings. Do you know what these are?
I do not.
Okay. Do you recognize these account numbers here?
It says they're savings accounts, so I'm assuming they're our savings accounts. I don't know the account numbers off the top of my head.
Okay. So when you went through to calculate, as you stated, when you went through to calculate your where you got the 220,000 for 2022 for this bank account deposits, you deducted your deposits to come up with that amount.
Yes, ma'am. And I did not include any transfers. It was only deposits.
Okay, so if we're looking here, these transfers from savings, you deducted these from that total.
Correct. I only tallied up the deposits.
Okay.
That were not
So
mine.
So we saw $200,000 from one account and $220,000 from this account. So now we're at a total of $440,000 for the year. Is that right?
Correct.
If we I'm going to bring up another exhibit, Exhibit 3, Mr. Schaefer. If you want a moment to look at that, that's the Marshall statement. Jessica, can you identify what this is?
This is our Marshall Community Credit Union joint account.
Okay. And even though this says just Clyde on here, you were joint on this account, correct?
Correct. I'm still a joint user on this account.
Okay. And this is with which bank?
Marshall Community Credit Union.
Okay. I'd like to move for addition of Exhibit 3.
Mr. Schaefer?
No objection to 3.
Okay, plaintiff's exhibit 3 is admitted.
Okay. Jessica, looking at this, this begins on which date, this exhibit?
January 1st, 2022 to January 31st, 2022.
Okay. And going through the rest of this, this is the statements ending in the month of which month?
It is November 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022.
Okay. And so this spans for approximately a year in 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
And tell me, what did you and Clyde use this account for?
Just another joint checking account we utilized.
Okay. If we're looking here, it looks like at the top here, there was a loan for a vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct. We have most of our loans through MCCU, hence the account.
Okay. All right. And it does in fact indicate here that you are a joint owner. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, did anyone else make deposits into this account that you're aware of?
No.
Okay. And is this the account that your paychecks were deposited into?
We did transfer my direct deposit to this account. I'm not exactly sure of the month that happened, but this is whereby it was easier to pay the mortgage out of this account. So we would use my paycheck to pay the mortgage.
Okay. I'm looking at a transaction here, January 19th. Can you indicate what this says?
Share draft deposit from cash received.
Okay. So Marshall does indicate if cash was paid in. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And just for January 19th, it looks like the amount of what was deposited in cash?
1,200.
Okay. And did you make that deposit?
No.
Do you know if Clyde made that deposit?
If I didn't, then he had to have.
Again, Your Honor, speculation.
Ms. Greenlee-Flor, what's your response?
Your Honor, I don't see how, if only her and Mr. Lampkin had access to this account, I think it's an accurate assumption that Mr. Lampkin made the deposit.
Well,
That's fine.
I guess we can't just assume that. Quite
Yeah.
frankly, I think that any third parties could make deposits as well. Not withdrawals, but I know that anyone else could make deposits.
Okay. I can clarify, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Lampkin, do you know if anyone else made any deposits into this account?
No, not at all.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Lampkin about him making any cash deposits into this account?
I mean, he would tell me that he deposited money into the bank. That's as far as that went.
Okay. And you went over the year statements from January of 2022 for this account. Is that correct?
Correct.
Approximately how much was deposited into this account?
30,000.
And when you say that 30,000 was deposited, were those cash deposits?
I think cash and check combined,
Okay.
minus my paychecks.
Okay. When you were calculating that, you deducted your paychecks?
Correct.
Okay. So you deducted your paychecks. Did you deduct anything else when you were calculating those deposits?
I also didn't include transfers like I did with the other accounts.
Okay. So you just included deposits, not transfers.
Only. Correct.
Okay. And you said approximately how much was deposited in 2022?
30,000.
Okay. So we had about 200,000, 220,000, and another 30,000 of
Correct.
deposits. Do you know or have personal knowledge about where that money came from?
Jobs.
Okay. When you say jobs, you mean
Payment.
your understanding that these were payments from Mr. Lampkin for his work?
Again, Your Honor, leading question, and there's no foundation that she knows.
Okay. Ms. Greenlee-Flor?
I'll rephrase the question, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lampkin. We've already asked these questions about the other accounts, but in total, did you and Rob ever talk about how much he had deposited for 2022?
I mean, during the course of the year, he would tell me that he got a check for a job. He would deposit that check and let me know.
Okay.
Or cash.
And cash or checks?
Correct.
Okay. And these are the payments that are appearing into this account?
Exactly.
In the other
Again,
one?
objection, Your Honor. Leading question.
Okay, if you can rephrase, Ms. Greenlee-Flor.
I'll strike that. All right. The deposits that you calculated, Jessica, what are the total of those if you can add those up for approximately for 2022?
$450,000 in deposits.
Okay, so about $450,000 in deposits were made into your bank accounts that were joint with Mr. Lampkin and his business account in 2022.
Correct.
Okay, and you subtracted out of those deposits your income and any transfers.
Correct.
Okay. I would like to put up Exhibit 8.
Mr. Schaefer, as you're looking for that, I'll note that those were the ones that were filed on January 3rd, 2024.
Yeah, I got some 2 days ago, I understand.
Okay, I just
I'm
wanted to,
sorting through them at the moment.
Yeah, they were also originally from your office, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay, I've located 8, Your Honor.
okay.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, can you identify what this is?
Yes, this is our joint Huntington checking account.
Okay, and this is the same one ending in 4077 that we were looking at previously with Exhibit 1, is that correct?
Correct.
So this Exhibit 1 was for 2022, correct?
Correct.
And what is Exhibit 8 including or encompassing?
This is for 2023.
Okay, so this was, I'm gonna go down to the first statement here. This is dating from January of 2023 through what date?
Through September 18th of 2023.
Okay, and so these are the account, this is the account activity for that time period, correct?
Correct.
I'd like to move for admission of Exhibit 8.
Yeah, the Exhibit 8 that I had received is a statement from August 18th of 23 to September 1 of 23. I guess that's the same front page. You're indicating that this includes the January?
Yep, if you go down to the last page or the last statement in there.
Okay, so they're back.
Yeah, yep, they're in, they're newest to oldest in this one.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, plaintiff's Exhibit 8 is admitted. There being no objection.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, again, this is your joint statement with Mr. Lampkin, is that correct?
Correct.
And this was the account in 2023. What were you and Mr. Lampkin using this account for?
Typically, this is how I received child support. He would transfer money, or also if he helped with any of the extracurricular activities, he would help transfer money here. I would then transfer it to my personal Huntington account.
Okay. If you know, were there any deposits during 2023 during this time period that were not for activities or support from him?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
During this time period, so from January 2023 through September of 2023, as you went through these statements, were there any deposits that you noted that were not for child support or the children's activities?
Yes, there were other deposits made.
What other kinds of deposits were made?
As you could see here on September 8th, that deposit was the proceeds of the sale of our diner.
Okay, so there's this kind of deposit. What else?
Clyde also made other deposits in the account.
Okay, what other kinds of deposits?
I'm unsure where those monies came from. I just do know he made deposits to the account.
Okay. Let me look here. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of January. When approximately did you and Clyde stop using this account to deposit your income as a married couple, if you know?
I mean, I stopped using this immediately. I had my paycheck transferred over to my personal account only as soon as we divorced. As soon as we separated. So I think in December, I got my own account.
Okay, so let's start back here at the first statement for 2022. This is dating 12/20/22 to 1/19/23, correct?
Correct.
And we're looking at the deposit activity here, correct?
Correct.
Can you indicate what kinds of deposits were made for this statement?
I did not make these deposits. I'm unsure where they came from, though. I know that Clyde deposited them because I didn't, but I don't know where they came from.
Okay. When you went through the 2023 statements for this account, did you approximate how much in deposits went into this account?
About 20,000, and that's taking out the sale of the diner proceeds.
Okay. And that's that 218,000 that you pointed out here?
Correct.
Okay. Did you deduct the child support deposits?
Yes, I did not include any transfers.
Okay. So when we look here at this first statement here on the first page, when it says internet transfer, you deducted all of these transfers from those deposits?
Yes, exactly. So the $1,000, that top one is what we consider child support.
Okay. And going on down here, if you remember from August, looks like, do you remember what any of these deposits were for or from?
I think at that time he was helping pay half of some of the homecoming. And also at that time, I think there were some sport fees he also helped with and transferred some money for.
Okay. But you deducted all of these kinds of deposits when you calculated that?
Correct. I only calculated his deposits.
Okay. And so even in 2023, he still made about, you said 20,000 worth of deposits?
Correct.
Okay. Going to Exhibit 7. Mr. Schaefer, this is the business account ending in 7489.
I have Exhibit 7.
Okay. Jessica, can you identify what this is?
Yes, this is the C Square Construction Business Checking Account for Huntington.
Okay. And this is this now notes actually C Squared Construction on it. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what are the ending account numbers?
7489.
Okay. And this is the same account as Exhibit 2. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I want to go again to the date that this encompasses. So this ends on what date?
September 30th, 2023.
And this exhibit begins, if we go back to the first statement here, on what date?
January 1st, 2023.
So this is the statement through September for this bank account.
Correct.
Okay. I'd like to move for admission of Exhibit 7.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer?
Just one moment to check the dates, Your Honor.
Okay,
No objection, Your Honor.
okay. Plaintiff's Exhibit 7 will be admitted.
Okay. Jessica, as we talked about before in the prior exhibit, this is just for Mr. Lampkin's business. Is that correct?
Correct.
Were you still an authorized user on this account?
I was actually removed. I removed myself in December, but Clyde had to also sign off on that. And I don't think he did so until June of 2023.
Okay. So when you say December, make sure you say the year. What year did
I'm
you?
sorry, 2022. Correct.
Okay. So you tried to remove yourself from this account.
Exactly.
Okay. Did you make any deposits to this account in 2023?
Never.
Okay. Did you ever make any deposits into this account?
No.
Okay. And this account looks like the name of the account was actually changed from Clyde Robert Lampkin II to Clyde Robert Lampkin DBA C Squared Construction, correct?
Correct.
And what is this address?
That is my home address.
Okay. So the home address is still listed as the address for this account.
Correct.
Okay. Did you go through all of the deposits that were made in 2023 to this account?
I did.
Okay. And what was the total amount of the deposits into this account?
From January 2023 to the end of September 2023, it totaled around 180,000.
Okay. And how did you come up with that figure?
I just added all of the deposits. And then, as I mentioned previously, if there was a Square Inc. in the other credit section, that was typically a payment for a job. So I included that.
Okay. So you included the Square Inc. deposits as well as any of the what appear to be ATM or branch deposits.
Exactly. No transfers were included.
Okay. All right. And so the total for that was, I'm sorry, say that again. What amount?
180,000.
Okay. And that's just through September, correct?
Correct.
And we do not have the statements for October, November, or December.
No.
Okay. I'd also like to put up Exhibit 6. Jessica, can you identify what this is?
This is a personal account for Clyde through Marshall Community Credit Union.
And this is a different account from your joint account. Is that correct?
Correct.
And did you have any personal knowledge of this account?
No.
No. Do you know if was this provided via subpoena?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to move for admission of Exhibit 6.
Okay,
I
Mr.
don't think the
Schaefer?
proper foundation is laid if she has no personal knowledge, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Greenlee-Clore?
I'll continue. Jessica, whose name does the statement appear to be in?
Clyde Lampkin II.
Okay. I'd like to move for admission to Exhibit 6.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer?
I don't think the proper foundation is laid, Your Honor.
Well, we could, Ms. Greenlee-Clore, if you want to, wait until cross-examination or of the defendant, and then we could get it in. Or maybe Mr. Schaefer will at that time. I don't know. I just don't think there's a proper foundation at this point, just because his name appears.
Okay. I will go ahead and I will use that on my cross.
Okay.
All right. So Jessica, looking across the board at all of these accounts, you testified that in 2022, Mr. Lampkin had deposits of approximately 450,000. Is that correct?
Your Honor, again, leading questions.
Well,
Is giving the answer to the question.
well, if nothing else, it's asked and answered. So unless ask whatever question you have, Ms. Greenlee-Clore, but I don't need to rehash what we've already went over.
Thank you. I'm just totally making a total here. Mr. Schaefer, I'm just repeating what her prior testimony. Jessica, what was the total in deposits that so minus Exhibit 6, approximately what was the total in deposits you calculated through September between the two accounts at Huntington?
200,000.
Okay. So through September, just for those two accounts, there was another 200,000 deposited.
Correct.
Okay. In your opinion, during the marriage, or specifically during these 2 years, 22 and 23, how much was Mr. Lampkin making per year?
I'm sorry, say that again. Just want to make sure I heard correctly.
In your opinion, In 22 and 23, how much was Mr. Lampkin earning?
A lot. To an exact figure based off of the deposits, definitely over $650,000 worth of deposits,
And when you come up with that figure, is that for 2 years, both years?
2022 and 2023.
Okay. And the 23 was only through September.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Lampkin, and if you don't know, that's fine, but do you know if he was in charge of buying any sort of materials or equipment for his jobs?
Yes, he was.
Okay. And where did he purchase that from?
He would purchase from lumber places, Lowe's, Menards, those type of places, typically for materials.
Okay. And just to be clear, the totals that you gave here, those don't include the cash that he also carried around. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Mr. Lampkin was paying $1,000 per month in spousal support. When did he stop, or did he stop doing that?
September 2023 was the last $1,000 payment that I received from him.
Okay. Did you talk to him about that?
We did talk about that.
What did he say about that?
He told me he was instructed to stop paying me by his attorney because he has been overpaying me.
Okay. What about your tax returns? Are you familiar with what income was claimed for Mr. Lampkin's business on your tax returns?
Yes, typically around 22 to 30,000, depending on the year.
Were you involved in any of Mr. Lampkin's bookkeeping or any of that?
No.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like this court to know that I haven't asked you about?
In general, like overall.
About what I've asked you about. Mhm.
Okay, about the bank accounts or
The
everything?
bank accounts or your parenting time?
No, I think there's really nothing additional, besides the fact that he does make a lot more money than I do. I have been struggling, paying for my bills and the children financially. Often at times I'm in the negative. I have 4 credit cards that have been closed because I was unable to make payments, whereas Mr. Lampkin has been able to continue his credit cards and thus.
I'm going to object. There's no foundation laid for these self-serving statements, Your Honor.
Greenlee Clark, what's your response?
I'll strike her testimony regarding Mr. Lampkin's, but I'll redirect with a more specific question. Ms. Lampkin, have you had any trouble paying your bills in the last year?
Yes, I have. It's been extremely difficult.
Have you had to borrow any money from any friends or relatives to make ends meet?
I have actually. I've had to borrow money from my mother and stepfather. I've had to borrow money from my current boyfriend to pay for a lot of different things, and I've had to then pay them back.
Okay. And have you asked Mr. Lampkin for help with any of this?
Repeatedly, yes.
What has been his response?
He's not going to help me.
Okay.
Again, Your Honor, relevance. Apparently, we had the property settled. I'm not sure why this is relevant.
It's relevant. It's relevant because Mr. Schaefer is trying to claim that there's a spousal support claim, and if we're looking at the need and ability to pay, that's certainly relevant.
Okay. Court will allow.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, cross-examination.
Thank you. Well, let's work backward a little bit. You said that you had to buy, including from your boyfriend. Who's your boyfriend?
Justin Dew.
And Justin Dew is the person that you had an affair with in 2021. Is that correct?
Correct, but it did not proceed that whole span of time until now.
Well, you had an affair in 2021. You broke off, and then you began the affair again in 2022. Did you not?
I'm going to object to relevance of this, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer?
It's certainly relevant on 2 issues, Your Honor. It's relevant as to the morality, so the reason for the breakdown of the marriage, both under the and the issue of best interest for custody.
Okay. Well, court will allow and overrule the objection, but again, on a limited basis.
So when did you begin your affair again with Mr. Dew after 2021?
December of 2022.
And has that continued on to the present time?
Correct.
And when did your affair in 21 begin?
November of 2021.
Okay, so you had about a year did not see him, is that correct?
Correct.
And have you made him available to the children? Has he met the children?
Yes.
And has he stayed overnight at your home when the children are there?
Yes.
And how often is that?
I don't really know to an exact extent how often. The weeks he does not have his children, there are days that he does stay the night.
And what is the longest time period that he was staying continuously?
Maybe a few days tops.
And during that time, well, strike that. There came a time that you learned that Mr. Dew was on the central registry, was there not?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did there come a time when you learned that he was on the central registry for abuse to children?
He is not.
My question is, did you come a time that you learned that he was on the registry?
No,
Would there come a time when you learned that there were accusations of impropriety that he had with children?
no,
You were not aware that he had some difficulty in that regard?
no.
You do not talk to Mr. Lampkin, or Mr. Lampkin talked to you about that issue?
He brought it up. It's unfactual. And I said no, that I was unaware of
When
that.
did when
Yeah,
did
I'm
Mr.
gonna
Lampkin?
object to the, I'm gonna object to this. Mr. Schaefer can certainly ask Mr. Lampkin this, but my client's already asked, those questions have already been asked and answered.
Schaefer?
She finally answered that she was confronted by, and I'm just going to follow up on her answer.
Okay, well, follow up then.
Okay. When did he bring that to your attention?
Somewhat recently.
Well, can you narrow it down? What month, what year?
I'm not sure. Fall of 2023.
Fall of 2023. And did you check into the allegations of the impropriety of Mr. Dew?
I did.
Uh, Part of the property settlement agreement indicates that you must take Mr. Lampkin off of the Orchard Street property, his name off of the debt within 6 months from the date of the judgment. Is that not true?
That's true.
And you realize that that hampers him of gathering the ability to purchase a home. Are you aware of that?
No, he had enough cash to purchase his own home.
It would prohibit him from getting a loan if he has certain obligations with his name on the Orchard Street, correct?
He's never used his name he helped me get the loan for the account, but he would not be able to previously without using my own income as well.
I'm not sure that was the question. The question was, if he were to go out and get a loan at the present time, the fact that he has an obligation on the Orchard Street is going to affect his ability to get a loan.
I'm gonna object to this question as speculation, Your Honor. He's asking my client to speculate on what a lender might look at as far as giving Mr. Lampkin a loan, and my client can answer that.
Mr. Schaefer?
Let me ask her if she has the knowledge.
Okay.
Do you have the knowledge that that would affect his ability to get a loan?
I do not have the knowledge.
All right. You indicate that you make $84,000 a year. Do you have other income?
I do not.
You were freelancing at one point in time, were you not?
I was not. I've never made any monetary gain from financial or from freelancing.
Okay, my question is, did you freelance at some point in time?
No, I did jobs for other people without getting payment. It was just for helping people. I've never received any monies.
Did you receive any money from this freelancing?
No.
Did you receive any money from the helping that you did in relation to tickets?
That's freelancing. I resold Ticketmaster tickets.
Yeah, and how often did you do that?
I've only done that twice in my life.
And
I gave Clyde
that
the
income?
proceeds.
Excuse me?
I gave Clyde proceeds from the Jack Harlow tickets.
My question is, did you declare that as income?
Not yet. I haven't filed taxes yet for 2023.
And when did you do this?
2023.
And how much did you make?
It's really only a few thousand. I'm unaware of the exact amount.
And you said that you gave some of that money to Clyde?
Yes, and we were still trying to work things out. There was a part, we've sold one of the tickets and he did receive part of that proceed.
And have you sent your income into any accountant at the present time for your income for 23?
No, not yet.
You participated, did you not, in filing joint returns in 21 and 22?
I would sign paperwork. He would have me go and sign it. Yes.
Well, you filed a joint return, did you not? And you signed.
Correct.
And in each of those years, the income, specifically in income in 22, was from the C square, was approximately $22,000. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you're aware that the gross amount in that year was somewhere in the $189,000 as gross income?
Nope. I was not
Did
aware
you
of that.
did you read the return?
No.
So are you suggesting that in 22 that which was filed jointly is inaccurate?
I'm just haven't looked at it. I signed the papers. I know that how much he typically says that he makes because he writes everything off, but I just sign the papers. I don't typically, I'm not the one who goes into the accountant's office, submits all the paperwork. I typically just sign it. I don't look at the figures, except I do know how much he has claimed.
Your Honor, I had submitted Exhibit B and Exhibit C as the joint returns for 22 and 21. And I would ask that they be brought up, and I would offer both of those into evidence.
Okay, well, we don't bring them up. You can bring them up, Mr. Schaefer, but we don't.
Well, okay, in the past you have, but I'll get arranged to do so. Ms. Lampkin, have you had an opportunity to look at Exhibit B that was provided?
I have not, to be honest.
You have or have not?
I have not.
Your Honor, maybe we take a so I can prepare to bring these up on this side.
Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a brief 10-minute recess and then we'll reconvene.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Schaefer, you able to bring your exhibits up?
I believe so. Just a second here.
That's B and
Okay,
C.
just a second.
Greenlee, Clara, I'll ask you as Mr. Schaefer's trying to bring this up. Do you have an objection to his exhibits A and B, the tax returns?
I think it's exhibits B and C that he's trying.
B and C is what the tax returns are.
Well, you identified on your list as A and B. That's why I wondered.
I'm sorry, exhibit B is,
Yeah, Mr. Schaefer identifies the tax returns as 21 is A, 2022 is B, and then the C is a cash app statement for 2023.
no, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. A and B are the tax returns. I don't object to their admission.
Okay.
There's B.
Yeah, A and B, that's correct.
So, Mr. Schaefer, just for your purposes, if you bring up, if you need to identify those and have the plaintiff, but Ms. Greenlee Flora said she has no objection, so the court will admit your defendant's exhibit A and B. See, now you learned something today, Mr. Schaefer, how to bring those up.
Well, it's a miserable process, but it's what it is.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Okay,
Schaefer.
Ms. Lampkin, on Exhibit B, which is the 22 tax return, let me, first of all, you're indicating you never read these, is that right?
I don't typically look these over now. I mean, I scan through them and I sign. I don't evaluate the numbers, especially for his business account.
All right, just a second. For instance, I have on B, I've gotten to the depreciation schedule. Right now, I am showing you on the shared screen the tax comparison to 2021 and 22. And in 22, did you declare 71,948 as your income?
I guess so.
All right. What
I'd
was your
like
recollection
to-
of that? Was your income in 22 and it's 84 now?
Yes, I'm trying to think. I was hired February of 2022 to my current employer.
Okay. Well, I have it in front of you at the moment. See this depreciation schedule in relation to the business?
Yes,
And are you familiar with that equipment that was depreciated? Is that correct?
yes, most of that is for the diner.
Well, is the dump trailer for the diner?
I said most, that's not.
The Aaron's Edger, is that for the diner?
Nope, the rest of it is.
And so just so the judge has a handle on, you people had not only your income, you had 3 pieces of real estate that at times were rented. Is that not true?
Correct.
And what were the addresses of that property that were rented?
I am unsure of the exact addresses. I remember, I mean, they were in Battle Creek.
On Meacham Street?
Meacham was one. Mhm.
Did you have 2 on Meacham Street?
I believe so. These were Clyde
Right.
ceilings. I didn't have anything to do with them.
Okay, but you had some capital gains income when they were liquidated. Not,
I'm unaware of those things.
well, when you sold the properties, you had a gain on it. You had to pay taxes on it, did you not?
Again, I don't typically deal with the taxes, so I'm assuming that's correct.
Well, and when you sold Kate's Diner, and you sold Kate's Diner, did you not? In
Yes.
23?
In September of 2023.
And there was money that was exchanged between you and Clyde in the settlement of a lot of debts and property prior to even the mediation, correct?
Just for the home and for the credit card statements.
Right. And he, at that time, with the equalization, received some $146,000 and you received some $66,000, did you not?
Correct.
And so that money trickled into various accounts, did they not?
Correct.
And did you take those into consideration when you were adding up total deposits?
I did not.
And there were transfers of cash and checks that came into a deposit and then would go out either as cash or go out as a check. Did you check those things out?
I did not include any transfers in deposits. No.
Well, but there were circumstances, there were deposits, then money that was withdrawn, and then might have been withdrawn in cash. Did you see any of those?
I only tally the deposits.
Okay. Do you realize that the deposits were duplicated in various number of those accounts?
No, they were not.
You don't think they were?
No, they were deposits made. I did not include any transfers in any of the accounts.
Okay. My question is, are you aware that from one account, money would be taken out in some form, either cash or check, and then redeposited in another account?
No.
Okay. Did you ever inquire about that?
Your Honor, I'm going to object to Mr. Schaefer's continued line of questioning. My client has already answered his questions regarding that. And if he has examples of that, he can certainly point those out so this court can review them.
Mr. Schaefer?
Oh, well, I'll probably do that too, but I think these are legitimate questions.
Well, she states that she's not aware, not familiar with it, so I don't know what you attempt to acquire from
Well,
that. But if you have
I guess
specific,
the point is I'm trying to make is that she signed these and represented to the government that those were proper numbers. So
well, I mean, the fact is, I'm not going to, I guess, go beyond that unless she has other testimony, but it's clear when you sign those tax returns, it says you're doing it under the, again, the potential charge of perjury. And she did state that she scanned through them, but she didn't read them. So I don't know what else you attempt to garner unless there's specific questions, Mr. Schaefer.
okay, all right, very good. So the point is that you signed both the 21 and the 22 tax returns, joint returns, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And who was the accountant that you used with Clyde during those 2 years?
Dave Sutton.
Dave Sutton. Okay. And were you aware of, first of all, did you present to Dave Sutton any of the raw material for these tax returns in 22 and 21?
Besides my W-2s, I didn't personally I gave my W-2s to Clyde. He dealt with Dave.
Okay. So you relied on Clyde in getting the proper documents to Sutton, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's go to the charge sheets. You indicate that you communicate with your teenage children. I got the impression about everything. Is that correct?
Pretty much. Yes.
And have you expressed to them your concern and blamed Clyde for his relationship with his girlfriend at the present time?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Did you confide in the children and talk to them about Clyde and his girlfriend?
We've had conversations about the relationship.
Why are you talking to the children about that relationship?
If they come to me and talk to me about it, I will support them and communicate with them.
So if Clyde is getting feedback from the children that he's the bad guy because he is having this
Objection,
affair,
objection. Mr. Schaefer's trying to get in hearsay in the form of a question.
it's not-
Well, I think you can ask the question. I don't know.
Can I take that exhibit?
Yeah.
He's not talking about.
May I finish my question?
Yeah, finish the question, then we'll see.
So if Clyde is getting feedback from the children, indicating from them that they have knowledge of a relationship and they believe that he is the bad guy because of this relationship, the source of that information would be from you. Do I understand that correctly?
No.
You have talked to the children about the relationship that Clyde has with his current girlfriend.
Yes, but it's not always negative.
Well, tell me the times that it is negative.
You said times that it is negative.
Yes.
The fact that he was seeing her before our separation.
Okay. Did you talk to the children about that?
Well, he has said some of those situations in front of the children, that he knew his girlfriend, and actually I drove by.
No, my question is, what did you talk to the children about? Did you talk to the children about the relationship going on before the separation?
No, this was a conversation happened in front of the children about that. I had children.
My question is, what conversation did you have with the children concerning Clyde's relationship with this woman?
We drove by the bar 2 days after our separation, and he was seen in the bar from the street with his girlfriend. So I did have to talk to my children about that situation.
So the children are in your car?
Yes.
When this happened? And
yes.
What was the date of that?
The 20th or the 21st of November, 2022.
Okay, so you are talking to them about that relationship. Have you talked to them at other times since that about the relationship?
Not negative. His girlfriend actually supported my daughter when Clyde was cussing at my daughter.
First of all, the
So
question, okay, listen to the question. Did you have other conversations with the children about Clyde's relationship after this December event?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
I can't recall.
How many times was it?
I can't recall how many times.
A number of times?
I mean, it's not often. I don't know exactly how many times I had a conversation with my children where her name was brought up.
And there have been some negative connotations, negative expressions from you toward your children concerning this relationship that Clyde is having. Is that correct?
Yes, because they have seen me cry about the situation and asked me what's wrong.
Okay. And so what did you tell them in relation to that?
When he bought her an engagement ring within a week of separation, I was broken. It broke me down, and they heard some of the conversation of me speaking on the phone with Clyde. So they asked me questions about it, and I had to answer those questions.
Okay. And what would be the date of that?
Probably around November 25th, 2022.
Okay. Now this of 2022, and this would have been after your affair in 2021. Was it after your re-engagement of your affair in 22?
No, that was before.
When did you re-engage in 22 with your affair with Mr. Dew?
Mid-December 2022.
So it's a timeline. You're saying it was before you re-engaged with Mr. Dew. Is that correct?
Correct.
When you and Clyde were living the lavish lifestyle as you described it, and you were financing a lot of this on credit cards, were you not?
Mostly from his accounts, his payments from checks and cash received from jobs paid off the credit cards that we used.
Okay,
yes.
You had a number of different credit cards, did you not?
Correct. Jointly we did. He had a few and I had some as well.
And do you have a recollection of about how many dollars worth of debt got settled up when Kate's Diner got settled?
About 60,000.
All right. And if you go through your exhibits of 5, 6, 7, and 8, there are a lot of bills or debits in relation to eating out. Did you people eat out a lot?
Yes.
It appeared that you ate out most of the time. Is that a fair statement, or is it?
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
Okay. And there is a lot of traveling. You did travels not only on your work, but you also traveled with Mr. Dew to Florida, did you not?
It was California, and I did mention that it was a February trip, weekend trip. Yes.
Okay,
One
and
trip.
so you would, and that would have been what date again?
February 17th, 18th, 19th of 2023.
And was this a combined business travel, or is this just a vacation for the two of you?
This was my one vacation that I had.
There have been times that Clyde has requested to have the kids overnight or on a weekend that you refused him, is there not?
I've never refused him. If the kids had plans or I always told him the kids have this going on or that going on, but you can have them at a different time or in between those times because the kids are very busy with their extracurricular sports. I have never refused him out of anything malice. It was always because of planning.
Okay, so it was he was refused because there were other plans in the mix. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say refuse. It was more like a suggestion to modify his request. I never refused and said flat out no.
Well, when he called up and says, "Can I have the kids this weekend?" Your response on a number of occasions have been, "Well, they're busy this weekend, or we got something weekend," correct?
But you can see them if you would like to pick them up for dinner or if you would like to do something with them. I've never refused him.
Well, let me back up. You did refuse them, but you gave an alternative. Is that accurate?
I didn't refuse time with him. No.
What do you call it when he calls up? Can I have this weekend? You say, "No, you cannot have this weekend because
never-
the kids are in this activity."
Your objection asked and answered.
I don't
I'll
believe so.
sustain the objection. She's answered the question. Let's move on.
In the spring break of 23, did you go on a trip with Mr. Dew to New Orleans?
Oh, yes, with the children.
Oh, so you forgot about that one. So there's
I
more than
did.
two.
I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
So you traveled with the children with Mr. Dew to New Orleans. How long were you gone on that occasion?
Close to a week, 5 to 7 days.
And are there any other ones that you have forgotten about that you and Mr. Dew were traveling?
No, I apologize. I did forget about that one. Those are the only 2 times that Justin and I traveled.
Well, what were the accommodations in New Orleans when you had the children with you and Mr. Dew?
He got an Airbnb.
So your own place?
We rented an Airbnb.
So
It was
in answer to the question, you all stayed at the Airbnb.
Yes, correct.
And did you and Mr. Dew stay in the same bedroom?
Yes.
And have you had conversations with your children concerning your affair?
Yes, because Clyde has had many, many conversations with my children about the situation.
Okay, well, do
I
you have
had
personal
to.
knowledge of that?
I do. My children have told me and asked me
Well,
questions.
not what somebody's told you. Did you personally observe these conversations?
He has brought up comments in front of my children that were inappropriate about Justin and my relationship. Yes, I have witnessed that.
And did you justify your relationship with Mr. Dew to your children?
I did talk to them about the things that their father requested of me for a long time, and which was having extramarital relations with other men for 8 years. He conditioned me to have this type of affair. I would tell him no, I didn't feel comfortable with it. And then I finally did. And I told him that I was talking to Justin. He knew I was talking to Justin. We actually hung out with Justin several times, the three of us.
Just a minute. I'm asking what you told the children.
Yes, these are the things that I told the children.
So you told the children.
He told the children. I verified that that was accurate.
My question is your conversations with your children. You told the children that Clyde said that you should have extramarital affairs.
Yes.
Okay. And when did you tell them that?
When we separated and Clyde said those things in front of them.
Okay. And when you separated, and you separated a couple of times, what date are we talking about?
The date that these conversations were brought up were after November of 2022.
In 2023, have you had those same conversations?
No.
You have not talked to your children about that in 2023?
Not that I'm aware of, because it's already been discussed. They are already aware of the situation.
And did you justify your relationship with Mr. Dew because of the reasons you gave the children about Clyde's request that you have an affair?
No, I did not justify. I told them that it was a mistake. We're human. We make mistakes, and I regret the way that
But
things.
you continued on.
I'm
with
going to
that
object to this
relationship.
continued line of questioning as to relevance and also asked and answered.
It's relevant, Your Honor, as to.
Well, there is relevance. We're addressing the issues of the best interest, so I'll allow it, but we don't need to belabor it, Mr. Schaefer.
Okay, very good. What are your plans with Mr. Dew? Future?
I mean, I see him in my future for a long time.
So you have him in your future for a long time. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And when is the last time that he has stayed overnight at the Orchard Street address?
He stayed the night last night.
So is it fair to state that he stays there on a regular basis, if not permanently on a regular basis?
There's no regularity to it.
How many times each month on an average does he stay there?
I don't know. When it's convenient for him, when he doesn't have his children, when it's convenient for us, it's random.
Are you aware of the contact that Clyde has with your children on a weekly basis?
If we're talking about his communication via their cell phone, that would be hearsay coming from them, but he hasn't talked to me directly about his amount of conversations.
But do you realize that he will see them numerous times during the week?
Objection, Mr. Schaefer needs to ask a question, not give the answer.
That was the question. Is this
Well-
cross-examination?
I'll allow it. Go ahead and answer.
Are you aware that he sees the children numerous times during the week?
I know exactly when he sees the children. I have a parenting time document that I keep track of every single time he sees them, even if it's just picking them up for dinner. I have it documented.
Oh, so you're keeping track of all that. So you're aware that he sees them every week.
You mentioned communication, sir, and I was answering as far as communication via cell phone, that type of communication I'm unaware of. However, when he picks the children up, I have it documented, yes.
Okay, when he picks the children up. But during the week, if he hasn't prearranged with you, you're not aware that he may call them, see them, or attend a facility or an activity.
Well, I'm at the activities, so I'm aware when he shows up. And also the kids do tell me when he has conversations with them.
And you indicated that sometimes the extracurricular activities of the kids are on the same night and you can't attend all of them because they're at conflicting times, correct?
It's maybe happened like twice.
Okay, so you've attended every one other than that?
Yep.
Okay.
Except for when I was on work trip.
Okay, and you said that was twice a year?
Yes.
Okay, so you've seen Clyde at many of the basketball games and the other sporting events?
No, not many, very few.
How many in the last 6 months have you seen, Matt?
Like I said, Robbie had a season of 12 basketball games. He showed up to the last 2 just recently, fall of 2022. So he missed the first 10 games. He has been to Sadie's games, but he missed many of her track meets. He has not been to any of the girls' travel ball games. They did let him know when and where that was during the summer.
Did you let him know?
My children let him know.
But my question is, did you let him know?
There were times that I did let him know, yes.
When did you let him know?
I don't know off the top of my head the exact amount or when exactly I let him know, but I did.
You indicated that Sadie or Delaney is in counseling?
Correct.
How long has she been in counseling?
She started counseling in 2023, around April or May of 2023.
And with whom is she counseling?
Avalon Behavioral Health in Battle Creek.
And did you discuss that with Clyde as to whether or not there should be counseling for the child?
Yes, we did have some conversations that she needed help with her mental health crisis.
Okay, my real question is, did you and he agree that Delaney should go to Avalon?
I don't think specifically we agreed to where she was going, no.
And you sui sponte, you alone made that decision as to where she should go?
I saw where the insurance would allow her to go and who had availability, yes.
So the answer is yes, that it was your decision that she went there.
Yes.
Have you notified Clyde as to this counseling that Delaney's going to?
He's aware she's in counseling, yes.
My question is, did you notify Clyde of this counseling at Avalon?
I don't know if I ever specifically told him she's going to Avalon, but I did tell him that she is talking to a counselor, yes.
When?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
Your Honor, she is frozen up, I think.
So
I
Nope.
think I couldn't hear you, Mr. Schaefer. I
Okay,
apologize.
I think we had a glitch. My question is, when did you tell Clyde that she was going to Avalon?
I don't recall exactly when.
What was the circumstance that you told him? On the phone, in person?
I don't remember.
Have you received reports from the person that she's counseling with?
I have not.
Have you verbally gotten reports
I
from
have.
this person?
I have not.
What is the name of the person that she's counseling with?
Her name is Jennifer. I believe. I don't recall her last name.
Have you attended any of the counseling sessions?
The very first session I had to attend with her just to get her onboarded.
Okay. Does Delaney stay at your home on Orchard Drive continuously, or are there times that she will stay elsewhere?
She stays the night at some friends' houses at times, yes. But other than that, she is home.
Okay. How often does she stay the overnight with friend's house?
It's various. There's no set amount of time.
Well, give me an idea. In a month's time, does she stay there one night, 10 nights? How many?
I mean, again, that's hard to say. 1 month it might be twice. 1 month it might be 5. I'm not really sure. I can't answer that question.
Is there more than one place that she stays?
She has several friends that she stays the night with. So yes, there are probably within the past year, it's been maybe 2 or 3 friends total that she has stayed the night with.
Have you communicated that information to Clyde?
That she's staying the night with a friend.
Yes.
If he asks to see them and he asks when Delaney is at a friend's house, I will let him know she's at a friend's house. But other than that, no.
Part of the settlement agreement was that Delaney is provided with a vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Clyde paid off the debt on that, and you owe him some $3,400. Is that correct?
Correct. And I have the check right here written on the date of the mediation. He has refused to receive the check.
And that was due on January 2nd of this year, correct?
Again, I tried. He has refused to receive the check. I even offered to drop it off at your office.
And did you?
He told me, I talked to my attorney about it. We were trying to get an answer from you all about how to handle that, and there was no response from your office.
Okay, at least you were told there was no response. Is that correct?
I was told there's no response.
But the long and the short of it, you haven't paid that on the due date, correct?
I have the check right here. I have tried many times to give him the check.
So does Delaney have exclusive use of this vehicle?
Yes, I actually, I got the vehicle. I have a contract on the vehicle. I was the one making payments on the vehicle. Clyde did not help with the vehicle, the initial purchase of it. The insurance I paid every month, he has not helped a dime. And then in October, the beginning of October, he went to the person that I had the contract with, paid off the remaining balance. And then I went to actually pay the remaining balance. And the gentleman told me, well, Clyde's already paid it. He never even reached out to me to let me know. And so then this was held over my head, and I've been trying to pay him since then. But I was making payments and had a contract, and I still have the contract.
And he paid some $6,800, that which was owed on the car, correct?
Correct. He also took the $10,000 that we had set aside for my daughter's car.
Okay, I didn't answer that question. Now, you acknowledge that you had received $1,000 a month from Clyde, and you say it's through September of 23. Is that correct?
Correct. December.
And that would have started in December of 22.
Correct.
And in fact, he paid you in October too $1,000. Did he not?
No, he did not.
Okay. And you also extracted $5,000 from the business account when you left. Is that correct?
It was not $5,000, and I only paid the mortgage, the Jeep payment, and the HELOC payment that we were joint on.
How much money did you leave with from the business account?
I don't know the exact figure, but it was the exact amount that I needed to pay the mortgage, the Jeep, and the HELOC payment, and he was aware of this.
And it was, if it wasn't 5,000, it was in that vicinity, was it not?
It was not.
Well, how much did you take?
Whatever the amount, I could calculate the amount of the HELOC, the Jeep, and the mortgage payment. That was it, and it's all documented. How much exactly?
Calculate it for me, would you please?
Mr. Schaefer, what's the relevance of this? I mean,
Well,
you settled the property issues. Of course, not really concerned if she took money from that account to pay off the mortgage, Jeep, and a HELOC loan. I don't understand the relevance.
Well, the allegation was, at least in the trial brief, that my client has not supported his children at all, and this is part of that response.
Well, that was at the time when they had separated or something. So
the allegation was through 23, and I'm making that time period. This was after the separation.
Well, was this after September of 2023?
Can I get a date that you're talking about, Mr. Schaefer?
22.
I didn't hear that because Ms. Greenlee-Flora was talking.
Okay, the separation was in November of 22.
I understand that, but then how is it relevant now when we're talking about no payments on child support after September of 2023?
Well, that wasn't the allegation, but I was trying to cover the other time.
Okay, please do.
During the time that you were married and raised these kids, so do you disagree with the proposition that both of you cared for and cared for these kids?
I don't disagree with that.
All right. I mean, it was a joint effort, was it not?
Correct.
And there were times that you were unemployed. Is that correct?
Correct.
And during the marriage, you bettered your position by obtaining degrees. Is that correct?
Correct.
You
Then
obtained a bachelor's and a master's degree. Is that correct?
correct. And which I still have student debt on. I've not made a single payment.
And what do you do at your work? What do you do for Carnegie?
I'm a senior digital integrations specialist.
What does that mean?
I
So how is it relevant what she's doing at work?
The possibility of increase in income in relation to both support and spousal support.
Well, maybe ask that question. I don't really care what her functions and activities are at work. If she has the ability to make more income, that might be appropriate.
Okay, I'll ask
Your
that
Honor,
specific.
Your Honor, if we could have a decision from you, Mr. Lampkin's been defaulted for quite some time. Is this court even going to set aside that default today so that he can pursue this spousal support obligation?
I am not going to set aside the default.
So I would consider this to be irrelevant because he's defaulted.
Mr. Schaefer, what's your
Under the fair-
response?
Under the fairness doctrine, Your Honor, I think it's relevant.
Well, just so you know, I'm not setting aside the default, and there are consequences of a party being defaulted. I have allowed you to go ahead with mediation. I've allowed you to, again, address the child-related issues because I think that is appropriate. But quite frankly, I think that looking at factors as it relates to spousal support, again, he's been defaulted on that. So at this particular point, unless you come up with something else in testimony and argument as to why I should, the court's not inclined to set aside the default as it relates to spousal support.
Okay. Last year, Ms. Lampkin, you, I think, declared about $71,000 of income, and this year you are making $84,000 of income. So you've had about a $13,000 raise in the last year. Is that a fair analysis?
No, I did not report a full year on the 2022 income statement, tax statement, because I didn't have the job for that whole year.
Oh, okay. So it was a partial year.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
I made 80,000.
You made 80,000 last year.
Correct.
And you make 84 this year.
Correct.
Is there a schedule of you making more money in the future in your position?
We have yearly reviews, and that's up to the discretion of my supervisor.
Okay. When you and Clyde were together and you were a family unit, did you attend church at all or on an irregular basis, or what was the situation?
Since COVID, it was few and far between. It was irregular, very few.
Prior to COVID?
It was still few and far between. I was on the worship team, and we back in probably 8 years ago. I mean, it's been a long time since we went regularly.
What church were you on the worship
Victory
committee?
Life.
Is that what you're attending sometimes now?
Yes.
Do you see love between your children and Clyde?
I haven't been around them as a unit in a good while. Previous to that, there were times that I did. There were also times where it was very tumultuous.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Greenlee, floor, redirect.
Thank you. Ms. Lampkin, I'm going to go back to the original questions that you were asked here. Going back to the tax returns, until you looked at these bank statements and calculated all these deposits, did you have any idea how much Mr. Lampkin was actually making?
No, not at all.
So you'd never discussed his actual income with him or how much was actually coming in?
No, I actually was very surprised when I tallied up all the deposits, to be honest.
Okay. What kinds of comments did Mr. Lampkin say in front of you about Justin and in front of the kids?
I mean, he said some very explicit things in front of the children about my relationship with Justin, things that are of sexual nature. very, very inappropriate things, cussed and called me names in front of the children, to the point where my daughter actually has recorded conversations because she was very distraught about what was being said to me in front of the children and by Clyde.
So during these incidences, first of all, when did they happen approximately?
I mean, honestly, throughout our relationship, there were many times where he would cuss and call me names and say horrible things in front of the children. As far as the relationship with Justin, it was on and off after the first separation in April of 2022. It started then. But
So it started then. We're talking about Clyde bringing that up in front of the kids.
Exactly, about Justin.
And what were your children, not what your children said, but what did you observe? How did your children react when he had those kind of outbursts?
Obviously, they were scared. They were disgusted that their father was talking about vile things in front of them. They appeared to, I mean, they cried at times. They didn't want to be in that situation. They wanted to remove themselves. You could tell they would try to escape and go away. And again, my daughter would record because she felt the need to document.
Your Honor, again, that's speculation as to what the daughter felt the need to.
I apologize. She recorded the conversation.
We can strike the part about how her daughter felt.
Okay.
Just beware of that, Jessica. You can't say how people felt. Okay.
Apologies.
Going back to a lot have been driven onto this affair in your morality. You indicated that for 8 years, Mr. Lampkin told you to basically go outside of the marriage. Was he basically suggesting that you two have an open relationship?
Yes. I will never forget it. We were on our way to Canada for my 32nd birthday, and he was very specific about the people that he had thought about reaching out to for me to have relationships with. He had the majority of our relationship made me tell him stories during our sexual relations.
Okay, Jessica, I don't want to get into that. I just want to ask the question: did he suggest that you both have open relationship with outside of your marriage?
He did not use the term open relationship, but that's the way that I take that. Yes.
Okay, so he made suggestions of people for you to have relationships with.
Exactly.
And based on your knowledge and information and belief, he was also having relationships outside of the marriage.
There were definitely a lot of things. There were burner phones where naked photos of women were coming through. He said those phones he was paying for those phones for his employees. However, somehow they ended up at our home. No employee has ever verified that those were their phones. There were a lot of situations that women would make comments that made me feel like he was having affairs with them. But of course, I didn't have a whole lot of concrete evidence on those specific people.
Okay. Let's go back to some of the testimony. You said that Mr. Lampkin took $10,000 out of your joint bank account that had been set aside for Delaney's car.
Correct. We had purchased a Toyota MR2 Spider vehicle for Delaney for $8,000, and that was paid for in cash. In I believe 2021, she wasn't.
Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object. I think Your Honor interceded before that this was the property division. Why are we going into it? So I stopped the questioning in that regard, but we're back to it now. So I make the same objection.
Okay, Ms. Greenlee-Thor, how is it relevant when we settled the property issues?
It's relevant that not only was he not paying support for the minor children, but he was also removing support that the parties had set aside for the minor children's expenses.
Okay, but I'm not going to get into property issues. So if it involves that, please move on because I'm not going to hear it.
We heard Mr. Schaefer indicate that Justin Dew is on the central registry. Were you ever contacted by anyone from CPS? Yes or no?
Not regarding Justin Dew, no.
Were you ever contacted from someone from CPS regarding Mr. Lampkin?
Yes.
And did you ever talk about this with Mr. Lampkin?
No.
No, he's never mentioned it at all to you?
No.
Did you, in fact, is it your understanding that there is an investigation open against Mr. Lampkin for his drinking?
I'm going to object to the leading question, Your Honor. It's her witness.
Ms. Greenlee-Thor, what's your response?
I don't think it's leading. I'm asking her if she's ever heard from about this.
Well, maybe it's the way it's worded. Maybe you can reword the question.
Of course, I forget how I worded it. Are you aware of any cases with CPS open regarding drinking and with Mr. Lampkin drinking?
Yes.
Okay, and as part of any of those cases, did you receive documentation that let me strike that. As part of that case, do you know if Mr. Dew was ever run through the central registry?
Yes, he was the CPS officer.
I'm going to be object to the hearsay, Your Honor.
Yep, so just answer the question, Jessica, okay?
Sorry.
Okay, and so just going back, he was run through the registry, and based on your knowledge, information, and belief, he came back as not registered under the central registry.
Leading question and asking for hearsay, Your Honor.
Mr. Thor, what's your response?
I'll strike that. I'm also going to put up Exhibit 9 here, which I sent Mr. Schaefer. Did you receive that? I saw your assistant bring something in.
No, I have not. That's one you sent this morning?
That's one I sent during the hearing. I think she printed it out.
I have not seen it.
There we go. Okay. Mr. Schaefer, did you receive the printout of that?
I have received it.
Okay. Ms. Lampkin, can you identify what this is?
This is a child abuse neglect central registry check.
Okay, when you say check, it's a document from the central registry about someone. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes, Mr. Schaefer.
Improper question. There's no foundation. She has this information, but it's hearsay. I'm going to object to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Greenlee-Thor, what's your response?
You mean the documents hearsay, or what she's saying is hearsay?
Yes, the documents hearsay.
Okay, I'm going to move for admission of Exhibit 9 as a business record, as an official record.
The foundation not laid for a business record, Your Honor.
Do you have a foundation for the business record?
Sure. Ms. Lampkin, who has this been issued by?
The Michigan Department of Human Services.
And this is in regards to a child abuse and neglect central registry?
Correct.
Yeah. Again, there's no foundation. This client is the keeper of the records or has this information.
Yeah.
These are improper questions.
It would, for a business record exception, she would have to be the custodian of the record to properly have this qualified. So the court is going to sustain the objection, and I will deny the admission of plaintiff's Exhibit 9. I also would note for the record that in this particular case, the notice that went out of this trial required that exhibits be disclosed 7 days prior to the trial with copies to the court. That has not happened as it related to this exhibit. It wasn't provided until this morning. So for those reasons, I'm going to deny the admission.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's a rebuttal exhibit, but that's fine.
This isn't rebuttal. This is redirect, Ms. Greenlee-Thor.
Apologies. All right, but Ms. Lampkin, to the best of your knowledge, information, and belief, Mr. Dew is not on the central registry.
Correct.
Okay.
Leading question, and there's no foundation for it, Your Honor.
Your Honor, this is something she's already asked and answered, asked by Mr. Schaefer directly. I'm just repeating the question.
Well, I don't need to hear duplicate testimony. It's going to drag this thing out long beyond what it needs to be if we just go and rehash everything. So please move on.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions for her.
Okay. Mr. Schaefer, any recross?
This innuendo you gave in relation to women making comments, when was this?
In 2022.
What woman made a comment?
Honestly, there have been numerous. Over the past, our whole relationship, there have been numerous comments.
But you said there was one in 2022. My question is, what woman made a comment?
Erica Caraba.
Okay. Were the children upset when they learned that you had an affair?
I think initially they were upset in April of 2022 about the separation. By the time November of 2022 rolled around, they did not really seem to be fazed by everything that was brought up. No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Ms. Greenlee-Thor?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, let me ask at this point, we do have some other witnesses. Ms. Greenlee-Thor, do you have any relatively short witnesses, or should we take our lunch break now?
I have no other witnesses. I think just procedurally, we might want to bring up, I spoke with Mr. Schaefer yesterday. He indicated he had several witnesses. However, I received no witness list from him.
Okay.
So we need to address that.
Okay, so Ms. Greenlee-Thor, do you rest at this point other than cross-examination of the defendant if he testifies?
I will call, if Mr. Schaefer does not plan to call Mr. Lampkin, I will be calling him as a witness. But I don't know if we should start that before lunch.
Well, it would not make sense to do it before lunch. Mr. Schaefer, do you have any short witnesses that we could take, or?
No, I have my client and I have four other that I have under subpoena that I have scheduled for 1:15 and 1:30, trying to guess when they might be available.
Okay.
They'd be relatively short, but they're not available until that time.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we take a recess for lunch and then we'll come back and reconvene at 1 o'clock?
Your Honor, I just want to address, I have received no copies of any subpoenas. I don't have a witness list. I have no idea who Mr. Schaefer is talking about.
Okay, and
So I would object to any other witnesses testifying on Mr. Lampkin's behalf today.
Okay. and what is that? What's your objection based upon, Ms. Greenlee-Fleur?
If I knew who was testifying, I would have a general idea of what they would be testifying about, and I could have rebuttal witnesses prepared, but I don't, because I don't know of anyone that's testifying.
But I'm saying, and typically in cases such as this, we have a case scheduling order. We did not do that in this case, so there is no limitations at this point as to the witnesses. So I guess I'm asking, what is your basis for?
He's been
objecting to
defaulted.
it?
He's
What?
been defaulted as well. So not only is there no notice, I don't have copies of the subpoenas, but he's also been defaulted. So he can certainly testify as to what he believes the best interests of the minor children are. But at this point, he's been defaulted and he does not have the right to, in my opinion, to call any witnesses.
Well, the court, again, basically allowed him to proceed. I would allow him to proceed as it relates to the issues of the children. So I presumably these individuals are not testifying to property matters, are they, Mr. Schaefer?
They are not, they're the children issues, John.
Well, the court would allow them to testify then at this point. So,
If I could have their names before the lunch break, so I can at least talk about them with my client, because
Right.
again, I have no idea who it is.
sure. Mr. Schaefer, would you identify them?
I will, Your Honor. James and Amy Nelson,
James and
Bill
Amy,
and Michelle Dismet.
okay? I'm sorry, you broke up at the last part there. So
Oh, I'm
James and Amy
sorry.
Nelson, and who else?
Bill and Michelle Dismet.
Okay, well, I'll object when they come up, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine. The court will note your objection now. You don't have to object at that point, but I've already addressed that, so. We'll recess until 1 o'clock PM.